Have you ever wondered why making lasting changes to your eating habits feels so overwhelming? What if there was actually a step-by-step framework designed to transform your diet systematically and sustainably? In today's episode, I'm going to introduce my brand new framework that I'm calling the Eating Evolution Ladder. It's an 8-step guide that will help you go from junk food to optimal health, one rung at a time. By the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly where to start, how to progress, and how to unlock the healthiest version of yourself over time. Before we dive in, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. All right, you guys, I'm really excited because this is a new framework that I have been working on, and I'm going to continue to develop and make it more nuanced and make it more accessible in ways that you can learn it deeper and learn how to implement it deeper. But basically, here's the idea, is that when it comes to nutrition, there's a lot of different levels. You know, a lot of people will say good and bad. It's like, no, everything is on a spectrum. And that's just with life in general. Now, that would be a whole deeper conversation, but like life is not white and black. It's not this or that. It's not one or the other. It's usually a whole spectrum, right? It's not bad or good. It's like there's best and there's worst, and there's a lot of different things in between, right? There is not too bad, kind of bad, neutral, better, best, the absolute best, right? You know, there's this whole spectrum, and we need to realize that. It's like when I'm looking at somebody's meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, let's say, and they're asking me, is this a good meal? It's like, that's not a good question to ask, first off. It's like, what level of good is it on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say? And there's a lot of things that will determine that. And that's what I'm going to go through today. It's going to be like, okay, if you're looking to, right now you're all over the place with your food, and you're eating fast food and you don't even really know what to eat, we're going to start at the bottom of this ladder. Once you solidify habits from the bottom of the ladder, then we're going to take a next step up, and we're going to improve our eating habits at the second rung of the ladder, and then the third rung, and then the fourth rung, and then by over time, number of months, number of years, depending on who you are, you're going to get to the point where you can have habits on all 8 rungs of this ladder, so that you look in your best, you feel your best, and you're optimizing your health for the long term. So let's talk about this ladder one step at a time. And remember, the bottom of it is like foundational nutrition habits. And then each level up that we go is we're getting more optimization, closer to optimization. And I would really venture to say that for 90% of people, even maybe more, this is true. You know, nutrition is very personal from a standpoint of what kind of foods you like, and a little bit of your genetic makeup, and a little bit of like the different conditions that you might have and diseases you're more prone to. There's no doubt about that. But I would really venture to say that this ladder works for 90, 95, 98% of people. And so I hope you listen closely, and I hope you write these things down. So the bottom of the ladder, the foundational first healthy nutritional habit is eating real food. And that means staying away from the processed food. That means staying away from fast food. That means when you look at a food that you're getting from the grocery store and you look at the ingredients, are there a bunch of artificial ingredients? Are there a bunch of fake stuff? If there is, that's not real food. So the first one is implementing a lifestyle where you're eating at least 80% of your food as real food. At least 15, 16, 17 of your meals on a weekly basis are coming from real food. And why is that important? Number one, because processed food are inflammatory foods, and we want to have as anti-inflammatory of a system as possible when it comes to our diet. So one of the reasons why real food is the base of the ladder is because of anti-inflammatory foods. Oxidative stress, we want to make sure that we reduce our oxidative stress because of antioxidants and polyphenols coming from real food. That'd be a deeper conversation for another day. And the other thing about, if you just tracked whether or not you were eating real food or processed food, you'd begin to cover a lot of the next the next 6 steps without having to track or have much education at all. And I kind of want to expand on that a little bit, right? Because like each of these rungs of the ladder are kind of like habits that you can track. They're like, okay, am I hitting this week? Am I hitting this week? And if you're just focused on real food, it's a lot easier to track because you don't have to count protein. You don't have to count macros. You don't have to count anything. It's just like, is this food real or not? And if it is, you're good. And so if you eat real food, you're going to start to take care of the next 6 rungs of the ladder already. So let's move on to the second rung of the ladder, and that's calories. I think the second most important thing in order to lay a foundation of good health and good eating habits is to ensure that you're not eating excessive amounts of food. Now, calories are not the only thing that's important. Macros are important, and the next 5 things that are important. But no matter what, if you eat in excess of calories, if you are intaking more calories than you are expending, then you will be putting on body fat. And if you put on body fat, then a whole lot of health-related issues could arise from that. And so weight management, simply weight management, covers a lot of other health-related issues. It covers inflammatory issues, metabolic syndrome, oxidative stress. And so if you can manage the number of calories that you intake, then you're already going to cover a lot of health-related issues. But again, like if you start eating real food and you keep that as your main focus, it becomes a whole lot more difficult to overeat on calories. And that's because real food has a lot less calories than processed food. So the base of the foundation and the ladder is real food. The second one is calorie management, making sure you're not eating excessive amounts of calories, basically trying to intake the same amount that you're expending. The third rung of the ladder, I think the third most, or the other way that I would describe this is the bottom is the most important thing that you do. Then the second one is the second most important thing you do. Then the third, this one is the third most important thing you do, and that is fiber intake. I really think that if you don't focus on any other thing on the nutritional label, ingredients first, but if you don't focus on anything else, focus on fiber, because fiber essentially helps us with a lot of different things. It helps us with our gut health, our digestive health, our heart health. Fiber helps with so many different things, and you can really only find fiber in nutrient-dense foods. And so if you focus on fueling yourself with fiber, that's absolutely key. And you want to do so in the amount of a minimum of 25 grams per day, and then upwards of 30, 35, 40 grams per day. You can't really have too much. The other number I'll throw out at you is 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories that you consume. A typical person might eat 2,000 calories a day, and so that would be 30 grams of fiber for that person. That would be the goal for that person, let's say. So I would say at least 25, if not 30, 35, 40, 45 grams of fiber per day. And you can get that from fruits and veggies, nuts and seeds, fatty fruits like avocados and olives, a lot of your starches, your grains, a lot of different ways that you can get fiber. Fourth rung of the ladder, the fourth most important thing that you can focus on is protein. And one, because protein is, or I would say muscle is your metabolic currency. Having muscle ensures that your metabolism stays at a faster pace because muscle is more metabolically active than fat, meaning it burns more calories than fat. And so it helps you metabolically and it helps you functionally. Like one of the things that we just continually forget is when you get older, you want to live well. You want to have muscles that can actually still do things. You want to be able to pick up things yourself. You want to not have to rely on other people to do things. You want to be why am I blanking on the word? You want to be independent. Thank you. Independent, Nick. Jeez Louise. You want to be independent as you get older. And here's the thing about protein intake and muscle is like, if you don't get enough protein intake today, are you going to lose a whole bunch of muscle by tomorrow? No. If you don't hit your protein this week, this month, this year, are you going to lose a bunch of muscle after that? Well, if you do it for a whole year, maybe. But the idea is that with every little muscle that you lose, it's really hard to put muscle on. And so you want to try to fight off losing muscle as much as you can because it becomes very hard to put on, especially as you get older. And so I want you to realize that it's not necessarily the most important thing that you get in the right amount of protein today, but if you get in close to the right amount of protein consistently, you're going to either gain muscle or minimize the fall off and the drop off of muscle mass as you age, which is really important because your muscles need to be able to do things when you age so you can stay independent and you don't have to rely on other people to do everything for you. So for metabolic purposes and muscle purposes and functional muscle purposes, protein is the fourth most important thing that you can consume. And then I guess the last thing I would say is it's very filling, and so it will help calorie management as well. Sorry, there are so many different things that come into mind when I'm talking about the different rungs of this ladder that just get me fired up. Fifth rung of the ladder, fifth most important thing that you want to make sure that you're getting in for your diet if you are continuing to optimize is your omega-3 fats. Now, most of us are going to get enough omega-6 fats in naturally in our diet, conversation for another story, but omega-3 fats are really important for anti-inflammatory purposes, for your brain health, for your heart health, and for your metabolic health as well. Omega-3 fats, the best way that you can get omega-3 fats is through fatty fish, because omega-3 fats are 3 different types. There are DHA, EPA, and ALA, and you're only going to get ALA from plant sources, and that's great, but the main benefit of that is going to be anti-inflammatory purposes. But when you consume DHA and EPA, which you can only get from animal sources, that's when you start getting the brain health benefits and some more of the heart health benefits as well. And so eating omega-3 fats on a regular basis is really critical in the fifth rung of the ladder. The sixth rung of the ladder, continuing to optimize, is consumption of antioxidants and polyphenols. I've mentioned a term earlier in the episode that I'm still not going to expand on terribly in this episode, but it's oxidative stress. Essentially, inside of our bodies, something called reactive oxygen species builds up over time. We're always killing off some reactive oxygen species, and and some are building up. And we want to ensure that the antioxidants that we have in our body, compared to the reactive oxygen species that we have in our body, we want to make sure the antioxidants are at a higher population. That means that's essentially what the definition of not being an oxidative stress means. If we are experiencing oxidative stress within our system, that means that reactive oxygen species are outpopulating antioxidants. And just to try to keep it to not be like sciencey, just think of this about being healthy and your immune system and not having things going wrong inside of your body. And so the way that we get antioxidants and polyphenols is basically from a array of colors of foods. Primarily think about fruits and vegetables and trying to hit the different colors of the rainbow, because different types of antioxidants and polyphenols provide different types of benefits. And so being focused on consuming those things is continuing to further optimize our eating habits. The seventh rung of the ladder is probiotics/fermented foods. Now, this is super important for gut health. Now, just very simply, when it comes to gut health, we have our gut microbiome, which is the population of gut bacteria that is living inside our gut. And then we also have our gut lining. And so our gut lining ensures that what is in the gut and should stay in the gut stays in there and doesn't go out into our system, into the bloodstream. And so we want a gut lining that is strong and secure. Then we have the gut microbiome, which has the population of bacteria. To keep it simple, there is good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. And we also always want the good bacteria to outnumber the bad bacteria. Similarly to how we want antioxidants to outpopulate reactive oxygen species, we want good bacteria to outweigh bad bacteria. Because if we have bad bacteria outweighing good bacteria, our gut health is going to suffer, and our gut lining is going to begin to become porous, meaning it's going to let stuff out into our bloodstream, causing more inflammation. And so the question is, we want our gut lining to be secure, and we want good bacteria to outweigh bad bacteria. How do we do that? We populate our gut microbiome with good bacteria by eating probiotic-rich foods and fermented foods. And so those are going to be things like your Greek yogurt, your sauerkraut, and there's a bunch of other ones that, you don't typically find in our American diets as readily as some other foods. And so you're going to have to experiment with different ways to get this in. Like, I know for me, I'm kind of like at that seventh rung of the ladder that I'm like, how can I more regularly get this in? And so that's why I have Greek yogurt all the time. And that's why I'm continually looking to get sauerkraut in on a weekly basis into my diet as well. Those are the two foods that I like most that are fermented foods and probiotics. So those are the first 7 rungs of the ladder. And again, the way you want to think about this is, okay, this is how I continue to optimize my eating habits over time. It's like if you're just eating fast food right now and you're nowhere near where you need to be, it's like, don't focus on trying to get all the antioxidants and polyphenols in right now. Like, that's too big of a jump for you. Focus on eating real foods. When you focus on eating real foods, you're going to start getting some more antioxidants and polyphenols just naturally. But like, you're like, antioxidants, polyphenols, what the hell are those? Like, it's just too overwhelming. Start at the bottom of the rung of the ladder, right? And then climb one thing at a time in this order, because I really believe that this order is the order of priority that will lead to optimal body composition. It will lead to optimal overall health, and you're going to feel your best. Now, the 8th rung of the ladder, before I dive into that very, very tippy top of this ladder, remember, you can book a free health consultation with me by going to nickcarrier.com. For 30 minutes, I want to hop on a Zoom call, face-to-face, screen-to-screen, talk about where you're currently at with your fitness, where you're currently at maybe on this 8 rungs of the ladder with your nutrition, and I want to formulate a game plan for how you can make progress to look the way you want to look, feel the way you want to feel. So go to nickcarrier.com, book a day and a time that works best for you, and I can't wait to hop on a call with you. Now, the 8th rung of the ladder is supplementation. And obviously, this is where supplements come in. And the thing that I would like to say to you guys is that you want to supplement specific to your deficiencies, and whether that's a deficiency due to your genetics or due to your lifestyle, you want to do supplements for those reasons. You don't want to supplement just to supplement, because you really need these foundations built before supplements can really do anything and they're worth a damn. So I would really recommend, that's why it's the top of the ladder. It's like, hit these 7 rungs first before you begin to supplement. For me personally, I've shared this on the podcast before. There are 3 different supplements that I'm currently using. One is vitamin D. And the reason why I'm having these 3 supplements is mainly off of DNA and genetic testing that I got and blood work that I have gotten over the years. So my vitamin D levels were low, and most of our vitamin D levels are low. And so I take vitamin D on a daily basis. The second one is omega-3s, specifically the DHA and EPA. And I tend to have that supplement every single day in which I do not consume fatty fish. And I have that one, not necessarily because of blood work or anything like that, but just because I believe in the importance of omega-3 fats when it comes to anti-inflammatory properties, brain health, and heart health. And the third supplement that I take is essentially a methyl guard supplement that has methylated B12, methylated B vitamins, methylfolate, and that one I was specifically recommended from the company that I did genetic testing and DNA testing with, and that was because of certain markers that I had on my test results to get my B12 up and to get my homocysteine down. Conversation for a different story. My whole point in just bringing that up is I'm supplementing due to specific deficiencies that I have, basically for vitamin D and that methyl guard supplement, and then omega-3s because I'm supplementing with that from a lifestyle perspective because I only have maybe fatty fish 2 times a week, 1, 2, 3 times a week, and so I want to make sure I get the omega-3s in even when I'm not having wild-caught salmon, if you will. So those are the 8 rungs of the ladder. More than anything, this is what I want you to feel after this episode, is clarity of, oh, okay, this is how I can continue to optimize my eating. Whether you're somebody who eats fast food, or maybe you're somebody who dominates those first 4 rungs of the ladder, but you're like, oh, omega-3 fats, I've never really thought about that. Over the next 3 months, I'm going to work on eating wild-caught fish 2 times a week. And that can be a goal that you have for the next 3 months. And then it's like you do that really well, and maybe you make it 3 times a week after that for the next couple months, and then you do that really well. It's like, okay, I'm going to start focusing on my antioxidants and polyphenols. And so I'm going to focus on eating the whole spectrum of the rainbow, the colors of the rainbow every single week. And so I'm just going to write down, did I get my red food, my yellow food, my orange food, my green, my purple. I'm getting all the colors to maximize the antioxidants that I have in. And then after that, I'm going to focus on my probiotics. And so I hope you get the picture. I hope you have clarity of, okay, this is kind of where I'm at. This is the rung of the ladder that I'm currently at. And this is how I can work on improving moving forward. So I hope this was enlightening. Hope it was informative. Make sure you book a free call with me, a free health consultation call by going to nickcarrier.com. You can book a day and a time that works best for you. I'd love to hop on a call with you. But other than that, I hope the eating evolution ladder is something that will help you achieve your health and fitness goals. And ultimately, I hope it allows you to get closer and closer to your best you.